want to welcome everyone to our webinar from the Childfree Trust. Today, our presenters are Melissa Holcomb and Bree Kahn. I think you'll find it very interesting. I do want to ask everyone to mute themselves, turn off their videos. If you have questions, please put them in the chat and we will answer them at the end of the presentation because I think you'll find there may be some answers as we go through everything. So Melissa, let's turn it over to you. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Thank you so much. And thank you for having us. My name is Melissa Holcomb. I'm Doctor of Social Work and licensed clinical social worker, and I am a senior advisor for Childfree Trust, and I am child-free by choice.
My name is Bree Kahn. I am the Customer Experience Manager here at Childfree Trust, which means that I spend a lot of time working directly with people like you, helping them through the system and getting everything in, questions answered, any that they might have, and just working to improve the overall experience for members and potential members like you.
I will share my PowerPoint. We're going to take ourselves off screen so that we won't be a distraction. And we'll get started. I think it's really important that I start these conversations with an overview of the demographics, just so that we can understand the magnitude of this group. 25% of Americans are child-free, and under that umbrella falls two distinct groups. There are those of us who have chosen not to have children, and there are those of us who have found ourselves permanently childless or child-free by circumstance. And we could have a whole presentation on the language choices around this. We at Childfree Trust have decided on the term child-free and permanently childless. We've had input from all sorts of people and organizations to choose those words, but I like to start these presentations with this delineation between the subgroups because the experiences are so fundamentally different. And it means the care that we provide and the support we offer may be subtly different. So to clarify, at Childfree Trust, we define child-free as having no living, biological, or adopted children. And one of the most frequent questions we get is whether Childfree Trust serves parents, and the answer is no. There are 15 million Americans over 55 without children. It's a big group and it's growing. A recent Pew Research study showed that folks under 49, 47% of those aren't having children. So the difficult question that we help address at Childfree Trust is, who's going to make the decisions for me when I can't? And this question feels cliche. Sometimes sounds cliche, but guess what? It's a question that many of us have actually received before from our audience members and our community members. And it's been a really hard question to answer over the years because there's been no clear answer. What happens if our family lives far away and we're aging alone? What happens if our partner has passed away and we don't have friends and family that we feel we can burden with those roles, the roles that are required to complete estate planning? And the question of who will make decisions for me when I can't is really, it's a representation question. So who can I list on my estate planning documents to be my medical and financial POA? Who will be my executor and trustee? And these are questions that people really don't worry about, or really do worry about, and we see in our inbox all the time. It's a question that I think everyone here is probably somewhat familiar with, whether it's these explicit words or not. And this is the question that folks are chewing on as they begin to age. It's a question that we in the senior living and the aging industry want to be able to answer confidently. But first, it's important to acknowledge that it's been a really hard question to answer up until now. And the reason that this question has been challenging is because there's been no clear national offering that can work across all 50 states that provides the sort of fiduciary representation people are looking for, whether it's in terms of an emergency or cognitive decline or death. Trust companies don't typically offer medical POA services. Maybe some of the people in your community work with a trust company and they could be their financial POA, and that's great. And they could certainly serve in those roles as their trustee or executor. But the question of who can actually be my healthcare proxy, who can step in and communicate my medical wishes if I'm in an emergency, that falls under the umbrella of medical POA services. And trust companies don't typically offer that. And for those of us who are in Arizona or California, the question has been a little easier to answer because in those two states, there's professional fiduciaries that serve in these explicit roles. But unfortunately, Arizona and California are not all 50 states. And if you travel or you move states or you're not able to use those individuals once you travel and go across state lines. And then, of course, there's the challenge of just appointing individuals to some of these core estate planning roles. Being someone's executor is a really big job, and being someone's medical POA is a bigger job, and it's certainly more emotional. There's a challenge with appointing individuals because you're resting on the back of that one individual, and that's not necessarily scalable. So these roles often require a lot of hours and some expert perspective that our neighbor and our friends may not always have. So the question of who's going to take care of me when I'm older, it's been challenging just because there hasn't been a good answer up until now. So before we answer the question of who will take care of you when you cannot take care of yourself, let's look at some key legal terms. And so there are 4 primary documents that focus on future planning, both before and after death. And so each of these serve a specific role and a specific purpose. A medical POA or power of attorney, they're a healthcare proxy, and this person or entity makes a direct decision on everything from what hospital or rehabilitation facility is utilized to what medications and surgeries are received. And they may also navigate life-saving or life-ending decisions, such as life support, what life support's given, including feeding tubes or resuscitation wishes. Ideally, the medical POA would be following the previously stated wishes of the person, but that's not always known. A medical POA is only in effect when a person is alive but incapacitated, and it can be revoked if that person is able to regain the ability to make their own decisions. A financial POA manages the day-to-day and long-term care financial needs. So they handle routine expenses such as house payments or electric bills. And they manage bank accounts, ensuring that deposits, withdrawals, transfers, and those sorts of things are correct. And depending on the length of the incapacitation, they may handle tax obligations, oversee real estate transactions, or they may even manage investment portfolios. It's paramount that this person or entity maintains a highly detailed and transparent log of all financial actions, expenditures, and receipts taken on the person's behalf. And as with a medical POA, a financial POA is only in effect when a person is alive but incapacitated. So a trustee is legally obligated to manage, protect, and distribute assets according to the trust document. Duties differ depending on whether the grantor is living or has passed away. So while the grantor is living and of sound mind, they serve as their own trustee. If they become incapacitated or they pass away, the successor trustee steps in. And the successor trustee manages the financial affairs and ensures the trust is followed with support of finances during life and distribution of assets after death. Now, the executor is a court-appointed legal representative, and they're responsible for managing a deceased person's estate. So they'll obtain things like the death certificate, they'll file the will, they'll notify beneficiaries and creditors of passing, and they inventory and manage the estate and will distribute the assets according to the will, and they'll produce a final accounting to the court and to the beneficiaries. Serving in all of these capacities comes with a fiduciary duty to act in the best interest of the person or the estate, rather than their own or someone else's interest. This brings us to what we've created at Childfree Trust. The Childfree Trust is the first nationwide professional fiduciary offered exclusively for the child-free person. And Childfree Trust offers 3 core and distinct values to our members. First, child-free members can create their legal documents in our system, and that means that the medical and financial POA can be created and crafted. A will and trust can be crafted, and inside that is the pet trust if you have pets. All of those core documents are state specific and can work in individual states. We have a legal team that keeps those documents updated on a regular basis, and each document is created exclusively for child-free people. We think that if you have most information ready to go, you can create those legal documents in under an hour within our system. So one of the core pieces of our value is the professional fiduciary representation component. And this means that members can actually list Childfree Trust as the medical and financial power of attorney within those documents. Also included, we can be primary or backup executor and trustee. And I say primary or backup because, this is important. We don't have to be members' first choice in any of those 4 roles, but we will always be the member's last choice and always be that backup. And that's a really beautiful option for those of us who might have a partner who we want to be our medical POA, but we want to give that partner a backup in case anything becomes too emotional or too taxing, or maybe it's just not a role that they want or can do when the time comes. Included under the fiduciary representation is 24/7 emergency response. And that means if we have an emergency line so that if you have an emergency, we can be listed as your emergency contact in your phone. We have memberships cards that you'll carry in your wallet, keep in your car, can keep on your fridge, and hand out to your close circle of folks so that if there is an emergency, they could contact Childfree Trust to trigger any sort of representation services needed at those moments, whether it's medical or financial POA, executor, or trustee. But one of the most important parts of our application is that you can create care documents within our system. And in those care documents, members can outline their living wishes. And this includes everything from long-term care plans to who takes care of your pets. And this is where we talk and invite answers around how you want to be cared for at the end of life. This is where you would include information around who helps to take care of the house and who helps take care of you. We encourage people and members to begin to build those teams earlier rather than later, so that if there is a triggering event, the trust company who is going to be acting in those roles will be able to quarterback and project manage the care that you receive. And this is also where you outline all of your wishes. And so the trust company acting in any of those 4 roles will know your wishes and be able to act on behalf of them as a fiduciary.
So when you create all of your documents, you're going to have what's called your Childfree Trust portal, and you've got this main dashboard here. Once you create that account, you will log in, and this dashboard is going to be what pops up for you. It's a quick walkthrough of everything that needs to be done in order to ensure your legal documents are done and then your care documents are done. This estate interview is the first piece. This allows you to go through and select anybody who you might want to serve in roles for different estate documents and also make those legal decisions. This estate interview walks you through the entire process, and at the end, you pay for your documents and then you're able to generate them as well before you print them off, get them signed and notarized, and then sent in to the trust company. These care documents appear after all of the legal documents are done and generated. This is what Melissa was talking about when we say you can put information in there so that when you need services, the trust company knows what to do and what decisions that you would want to make. Anything from your pets to your financial information, as well as if you have long-term care insurance, you can put that in here. And also for those things that might happen after you pass, like last wishes and burials, cremation, anything like that can be included in the care documents. And these care documents can be updated at any time, and they don't require a new set of signatures or notarization because they are separate from those legal documents. So if you get a new pet, you can easily just go in here and add them. If you move to just towns or just places within your town too as well, you can update it in here. If you get a new bank account, you can add it easily. Anything like that can be put into those care documents, but they're designed to be more living, breathing documents that allow you to keep things organized both for yourself, but also for the trust administrators who might have to step in.
So, Childfree Trust is the organization that manages your membership. And that includes the online portal. That's where you create your estate documents and your care documents. Our partner trust company, Well & Trust, steps in as the professional fiduciary in the assigned roles during a triggering event. So we've partnered with an established trust company out of Alabama to be able to wear the hats of medical and financial POA, trustee, and executor. And this is an important distinction because some people will wonder, well, who's actually acting on my behalf? So while our partner trust administrator can be listed if your state requires an individual to be listed, there's not a one-to-one personal relationship on behalf of the trust company being established with the member. Instead, the care documents remain the place where you outline all of your wishes so that the trust company, when it's time, can step in and review those care documents. And we like to make this distinction to let you understand that if you have questions around membership, how to fill out the documents, the value and the services that you're getting, your work with Childfree Trust, or you would work with Childfree Trust, but our partner trust company, on the other hand, that's who's actually acting on your behalf and following your wishes as a fiduciary. Okay, so now let's talk about the care documents. And these are not just administrative compliance forms. They're the absolute North Star for any action taken on an individual's behalf. In a medical or legal crisis, these documents step in to give a person explicit voice when they can't speak for themselves. And they ensure autonomy is protected and personal wishes are legally honored. So what do we mean by care documents? It goes beyond the basic will. It pairs medical history with end-of-life wishes so that the healthcare teams don't have to make blind assumptions. And it outlines important contacts and a designated team, removing any ambiguity about who holds decision-making authority. And the care plan manages the day-to-day continuity, ensuring that routines, dietary needs, and personal preferences aren't lost during a stressful event. It handles practical logistics like pet management because true peace of mind, it means knowing that every part of your life is protected, including your beloved fur babies. Ultimately, these documents answer two critical questions before they ever arise. So what happens if there's an emergency and exactly who is on your team? Our goal is to shift the narrative by encouraging you to complete these forms while you're healthy so that you eliminate the crisis-driven guesswork. And we ensure that your legal, medical, and personal teams are fully aligned long before they're ever needed. It's the greatest gift of certainty that we can give to the individual, their loved ones, and the professionals who care for them. So what happens when people really do need us? Once members sign up for membership, they receive a membership kit. And inside are things like our membership cards and our in case of emergency cards, and instructions on how to add us as an emergency contact in their phones and in other locations. In the case of an emergency, the most critical need here is to communicate medical wishes and medical constraints to the providing physician at the time. Most of the time, an emergency professional will be contacting Childfree Trust on behalf of the member, in which case we'll verify their membership and immediately fax over their medical documentation, as well as the power of attorney form, giving the trust company rights to be able to act on the behalf and communicate the wishes of the member. In the case of a cognitive decline, there's a need for two primary physicians to indicate that there is, in fact, cognitive decline. And in the case of cognitive decline, medical POA and financial POA can be triggered, and this will allow the trust company to be able to act on behalf of the member to ensure that their life continues the way that they see fit, whether that be bill pay or management of the house, pet care, or otherwise. In the case of death, the trustee and executor roles are triggered and the estate begins to be processed. And those are roles that are traditional to trust companies. And Well & Trust is prepared to continue to act on behalf of the member at the time of death. And what's important to think about is the alternative. Without having estate documents in place, there is no one acting on your behalf. And that's one of the scarier alternatives because that's where conservatorship through probate comes in. The alternative to not having your documents in place is that no one's acting on your behalf, and there may be some issues that require guardianship. But the most important thing to remember is that the trust company, as a regulated fiduciary financial body, is audited and regulated to ensure that they're following your wishes. And there's a team acting on your behalf to begin quarterbacking the project plan of your care documents. And that means that they can contact the pet sitter to ensure your pets are being taken care of. It also means your wishes are being sent to the physician ahead of time. So the alternative is something to talk about. Certainly not to use fear-based tactics, but it's important to think about when documents aren't in place, what could happen. So Childfree Trust is priced at $999 a year. We do have monthly payment available, although it's just at a slightly higher price. And this covers having your care documents, having us listed in those documents, having all of your core estate documents available to you. And also, if there are any updates to those estate documents that you may need to make throughout the year, such as moving to another state, or if someone in your circle passes away, you can amend those documents, and they're state specific to where you're at in your current location, and there's no additional fees for that. So about $1,000 a year gives you the core membership. And if POA services are ever triggered, those services will be billed at $275 an hour. Executor services are also billed at $275 an hour, or the state maximum. There are some varying state requirements on that executor role, but those will be outlined in each state document. Trust services are billed at $275 an hour with a 0.1% admin fee and a 12-hour minimum. As an organization that supports older adults, we don't expect you to memorize any of this or play customer service for Childfree Trust. We have a full team available to be able to answer questions of members, to work with anyone who's interested in learning more. And we have a lot of content that's available on our website to support questions from members. We make 2 promises at Childfree Trust, and both are related to our services and pricing. First, that prices will not rise more than Social Security cost of living in any year, which means that if you can afford us now, ideally you can afford us in the future. We've also committed that once you've been a Childfree Trust member for 24 consecutive months, not on Medicaid, and you end up on Medicaid, we will stop billing you, but we will not stop representing you. And that's important for folks who maybe are deaccumulating at this point and maybe outlive their expected lifespan, financially speaking. We will continue to ensure that we will act as your fiduciary on your behalf. So we do really appreciate your time today, and we hope that this has been at least comforting acknowledgement that there's a solution to a pretty broad and intense question for us, which is who's going to take care of me when I'm older, and who will ensure my wishes are followed. At childfreetrust.com, you can create an account if you wish today without paying, and experience internally what our application looks like and what the ease of use is for folks. And we're going to be hanging around right now to answer any questions you may have, but you can also always reach out to us by emailing us at questions@childfreetrust.com.
I think you were very comprehensive, Melissa and Bree, and I think you're offering an excellent and needed service. So I appreciate your spending time with us today.
Thank you.
I guess I'll throw it out one more time. Are there any questions from anyone? Just to clarify, trust documents valid if I move states?
Yes, if you move states, if you filled out all the forms with us, and you move states, then you would simply go back into the program, and there's a place where you can say, okay, I've moved to a different state, and you will get all new documents that are for the state that you're currently living in. And
Thank
you can fill those out, print them off, have them notarized and sent back into the trust company at no charge.
Any other questions? Going once. All right, well, I want to thank everyone for attending. I appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll see you the next time we do a webinar.